Hi, welcome back to the Screenwriters Salon. I'm Alan Denman, writer, director, producer, and I've been living and working in the USA for the last 7 years, and the purpose of these salons is to share with you my accumulated wisdom about filmmaking, screenwriting and storytelling. So we began by asking the big question, what makes a great story? And I said in the first salon, the primary thing that you need is to have a great protagonist, a protagonist that we can identify with. The second salon, I talked about the inciting incident. That's an event near the beginning of the story that kicks everything into play and draws us into the story. And the third salon looked at the question of how to create a very powerful antagonist. Okay, so that's 3, but there are 2 more principles that I wish to discuss. And the fourth one is something I call the Law of Unpredictability. What do I mean by this? Well, the worst thing you can do to your audience is to bore them. You may have good characters and there's a strong goal, but you know what? If everything is predictable, your audience is going to get bored and they will fall out of the story that you've tried to draw them into. So how can you create unpredictability? Well, of course, in traditional screenwriting, there is a thing called turning points. And a really great turning point is one that is unpredictable. Turning points occur roughly 1/3 and 2/3 the way through a story. And I'll give you an example, one which I think is a really fantastic turning point, is in the film The Crying Game, when Forrest Whitaker, who's a British soldier, is taken prisoner by the IRA and he's allowed to escape, and he's going to go back to his loved one in London and they're going to be together and be happy forevermore. And as he's jumping onto the road, along comes a tank and kills him. That is very unexpected. And what it does is that turning point energizes the story and takes us into a whole new section. It's very, very powerful turning point, that unexpected. But there are other ways that you can introduce unpredictability. And here's some tips. Here's a golden rule I use. Because when you're beginning your story, when you're writing that first or second draft, you're almost certainly going to go to a default setting. In other words, you're not going to be able to think about everything. You're going to go to something that's fairly standard, like a template. So always think about, if my character is going to do something, can I get that character to do something unexpected? So you get the audience to expect them going in one direction, and you think, well, the character goes in an opposite direction. Now that is a very effective way. So never take everything for granted. You as a screenwriter have to be forever vigilant. You have to be aware, super aware of every moment in your story, and don't take anything for granted. So think about that. The law of unpredictability, making something unexpected happen. Now here's another way that you can generate unpredictability, is in your character profiles. So look at your protagonist and your antagonist. You know, how much depth have you gone into here? Is there a secret corner of your protagonist, should we say, that we haven't learned about yet? Maybe something that they keep private, that only comes out in their bedroom or their private study or when they're alone. And you reveal this to the audience. Now this is interesting. So a character that we thought was one colour becomes another colour. Okay, that draws us in, that keeps us there. We get more interested in the character. So there's a certain unpredictability there. But I think there's one other piece of advice I would give you, and that is in the construction of the protagonist and the antagonist and what the goal is. If you have a very strong goal for your protagonist, and then the protagonist is forced to be active, which means then you can have an even more active antagonist, who have very active protagonist, strong goal, very, very active antagonist in opposition. There's a whole recipe there for unpredictability. A lot of fun and games. So there are a few tips regarding the law of unpredictability. I hope you found this inspiring. And please come along to Salon number 5, where we talk about theme. Until then, keep writing.